another episode of The Architects, and today we got Jack Snyder, director / screenwriter, with us today. How's it going, Jack?
It's going great. How you guys doing?
Doing good.
That is good. Good as I'm gonna get.
Yeah, we're glad that you could join us today. What's what's been going on?
Oh, well, I spend most of my time writing screenplays, and I have, if you look at my IMDb, I've directed 3 films. Starting back in 2006 up until 2017. So I'm hoping to get another film off the ground in the next few years. But directing work is far and few between because it's so much more expensive to make a movie than to write a screenplay. So I get hired. I do a lot of work for hire screenplays.
Oh, okay.
That's what I usually do most of the time.
Cool. So what made you end up pursuing film?
Well, that is something that I always liked as a child. When I was a little kid and would watch the television, I would ask my parents a lot, much to their annoyance, how certain things were done in movies and on TV shows. And of course, they had no answer. So I've always had a fascination ever since I was a child, and just grew from there. Got a camera when I was a teenager, a silent camera back in the 70s, a silent Super 8 film camera, and made a bunch of little short silent films, then started making sound films, then moved to 16 millimeter. And, things just kept growing, getting bigger, and going from short films to features. And here I am today, except there's no more film. It's all digital now.
Right.
Yep. Well, just the weight of times, I guess, huh?
Yeah, that's right. And although I love film, digital makes movie making easier and less expensive.
Yep.
The only real downside is when everybody can be a filmmaker, and there's nothing wrong with that, but when everybody can be a filmmaker, we have, in my opinion, an overabundance of media out there to choose from.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know about you guys, but I sometimes get overwhelmed when I'm going through my various streaming services looking for something to watch.
Yeah, no, that's definitely.
Yeah.
At least I can speak. Yeah, it's definitely.
No, definitely. I can't even keep up with everything. So
yeah, you can't. It's really not possible. When I grew up, you really could. You only had 3 networks. There was no cable. There was no home video. There certainly was no streaming service. There's no internet. So,
right.
You could actually keep up on everything.
You really can. And then the crazy part is how everything is going over to YouTube now, because my kids don't even watch TV. They just watch YouTube all day.
Yep.
I know. As a matter of fact, I remember when YouTube first started, it was just people shooting little videos and putting videos on there. And now there's feature films. My second, actually it's my third feature film. It's what I'd call my second professional feature film, Fatal Paul, from 2012 with Jason London and Danielle Harris and Kevin Sorbo. That was picked up. That's been everywhere. That's appeared everywhere, and it was picked up late last year by a distributor called Movie Central, which is from overseas. I think it's from the Philippines. And they picked up the rights for YouTube streaming. They have a whole ton of movies, and they put it up in March, and it runs with commercials. You can watch it for free, but you get commercials.
Okay.
And it's in the 6 months it's been up there, it's had over 1 million views. And so, that's a nearly 10-year-old movie.
That's good.
Yeah, that's good. I wish my royalty checks were bigger, but that's whatever.
Right.
Hell yeah. I
know.
We always wish the royalty checks was big. Hell yeah.
We always wish the royalty checks were bigger.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
Yes.
How often do you get a chance to write?
Well, I am juggling at this moment. I am juggling. Let's see. 4 screenplays.
Wow.
And I got 2 more that are going to be going on the plate pretty soon. And the life of a screenwriter, if you're not on the brink of being overwhelmed, you're not doing it right.
Yeah.
And that's not me saying that. I actually read that. because I thought I was not doing it right, because I was always overwhelmed with the work I was juggling. And then I read that in a screenwriting book. And so I realized, okay, well, that's the life of the screenwriter. I have 2 features and a short that I've been hired to write, and I'm just about to take on a rewrite of a script once the offer comes in, and I'm going to be attached as the director. And if it gets produced, it's always a big if. You know, I mean, there's always money to do things, but sometimes things run out of steam because it's just so costly to make a movie.
Right.
And then another client has a potential 3-picture deal, and he needs me to write all 3 screenplays. So those will start coming in probably in the next few weeks.
That's a lot of writing. That's a lot of writing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it has a amount of characters. I mean, how many characters you say and you're pretty much writing for in each feature?
And you know, how many different characters? I would say that there's probably always 4 or 5 main characters and probably a dozen secondary and tertiary characters that I have to juggle. And keep in mind, a couple of these jobs I'm doing are adaptations of other work. So it's like I'm hired to adapt. 2 of the jobs are hired to adapt novels. So a lot of that legwork was already done. And I'm reformatting it. And of course, books don't translate perfectly to screen. They just don't. Because books are so internalized. We can get inside characters' heads in ways you can in a screenplay. Yeah. So there's a lot of change in manipulation. Also, books can, you know, books don't necessarily follow screenplay structure. Screenplay structure is just by the nature. All screenplays do this. Even when people say, oh, I watched a screenplay, it didn't do that. They all do this. Is they follow a 3-act structure. And the first 25% is Act 1, the middle 50% from the 25% mark to the 75% mark is Act 2, and the last 25% is Act 3. So if you're adapting something that doesn't fit that structure, you have to make it fit that structure. Yep. So you have to move things around and that sort of thing. So it's still a lot of work. It's just not like transcribing from one form to the other. You still have to do a lot of creative work to make it all come together.
Right.
Cool. So, like, being from St. Louis, like, how did it feel directing your first film when you did Ghost Image?
That felt amazing. I had to pinch myself repeatedly through the entire process because it was unbelievable. And it was before the industry went over to digital, so I actually got to shoot it in 35 millimeter motion picture film. And dealing with real Hollywood actors and dealing with a real professional crew that was sizable. All my films before that, I did do a feature back in the 80s, really super low budget horror film that I made with a group of friends. So my crew was maybe 3 or 4 people. And then I made a bunch of short films and the crew was the same, 3 or 4 people. But then to make a movie where your crew is like 30 to 40 people, and that was pretty amazing to see happen. And then the idea that on everything I did before that, even though I was the writer and director, when the crew was so small, I would have to lug equipment around and logistically make us, I was the art director and props and everybody was, involved in that. Right. So, but the idea of showing up on a set and not having to do any of that was just, I didn't know what to do. Like at the very end of the day, I had this instinct to just start grabbing equipment and putting them on the truck. And the grips were like, wait a minute, you don't do that. You get in your car and you go home. Your day's done. That was like a completely different experience.
What was your favorite screenplay and film that you wrote and directed?
Oh, that is hard to say. And the reason why, I'm one of these people that never have a favorite list. I don't have like a top 10 list. If somebody said, what's your favorite movie? I don't have one. What's your favorite top 10? I don't really have one. What's your favorite actor or actress? I don't have one. So that even applies to my own work. Now, everything I've done has strengths and weaknesses. to it. I have different things I like about it. Each one. That's kind of like, you can have a job, like let's say whatever jobs we've all had in our past. You can things you like and find things you like and dislike about each job.
Okay.
And some jobs you might absolutely hate. I have a few of those too, right. But not in the film industry. But so I just, of course, Ghost Image will always have a warm spot in my heart because that was my first movie, and we always have a warm spot in our heart for our firsts of anything, right. And you guys can read between the lines on that.
Yes, I got you.
But so Ghost Image holds that spot in my heart, and also with Ghost Image, I knew what I wanted visually and performance-wise, but I did not know exactly how to articulate that. Well, I knew how to articulate the shots, or I could tell the director of photography what to set up and how I want the shot. I was still finding my sea legs, so to speak, on communicating with cast because I had never worked with a professional cast before. And every actor is different, obviously, just like we're all different from each other. Every actor is different, and even if they have sort of the same processes, it's still different from actor to actor. So you kind of find what each actor, how they want to be communicated with. And that was that I struggled with that a little in my first film because I just had never done it before. My second film, I had a better handle on it on my second film, Fatal Call. And on my last one, Family of Lies, which I made for the Lifetime Movie Network in 2017. That one, that I would honestly have to say was the smoothest production I've ever done, without a doubt.
Okay.
Ghost Image was an 18-day shoot with a lot of overtime. It wasn't intentional, but it just happened. And overtime cost money. And the schedules kept getting shorter. Fatal Call was a 15-day shoot, so I'd lost 3 days. And I only had 5 days of overtime and not very much overtime, so it wasn't bad. And on Family of Lies, I was given a 12-day schedule and given a strict order right from the get-go that overtime was not allowed because the budget was so tight. And I pulled it off without any overtime. And so it went shockingly smooth. It really did, even though it was interrupted by a tornado at one point.
No.
So, so every shoot has its challenges. In Family of Lies had a tornado, and also had one of the crew members getting in a tug of war with an alligator. We were shooting in Louisiana. And there was a scene by a river, and an alligator came out to see to check things out, and he got in a tug of war with a big branch with a crew member who was indigenous to the area, so it was no big deal to him. I was like, "What the heck? Got an alligator now."
Yeah, he playing with it.
And Ghost Image, we had one of our. Not our main cast, but we had one of our secondary cast members had a heart attack midway through the shoot and couldn't come back. But he recovered, and he felt fine even within a day of having a heart attack. But SAG, Screen Actors Guild, SAG rules would not allow him to come back for insurance purposes. He could not be permitted to go back. So as fate would have it, as a lucky roll of the dice for us, well, thankfully he was fine, and he's fine to this very day.
Okay, good.
But as a roll of the dice from a production standpoint, we had shot everything we needed with his face before he had his heart attack.
Damn.
So there were two doubles for him. For everything else, we were able to shoot around him completely with doubles for the remainder of the shoot.
Wow.
So we had that, and then Fatal Call. Fatal Call went pretty smooth too. I can't think of we had an outdoor scene. We did have an outdoor scene with emergency vehicles. We had police cars, ambulances, and fire trucks. and a whole ton of extras. And our actor who was in that scene, our well-known actor, Lachlan Monroe, he's been in a ton of movies. He was in Unforgiven with Clint Eastwood. It was the first movie he was in. He had a speaking part. But he's from Canada, and he had to catch a flight back that day we were shooting. So we had to shoot him out and get it back. And that day it started pouring down rain. And I just decided, well, we have no choice. We have to shoot it in the rain. And besides, emergencies happen in the rain. Rain doesn't stop police and emergency and EMTs and fire trucks from showing up at a scene. So it's like, okay, we just put a tent over the camera and shot it in the rain.
Man, yeah. So like with the time schedules and stuff, like what's a normal time frame that they give somebody to shoot a feature? Is that like normal, like 12 days or 10 days or?
No. Well, yes and no. You have to keep in mind that I have been, and to date still am, and you never know if this will change, but I'm a low budget filmmaker. And low budget movies are shot. Time is money.
Okay.
So by the very nature of shooting a low budget film, the schedules are pretty short. And on average, they're 15 to 20 days. And like I said, I've shot 12 to 18. So I'm kind of in there and a little at the lower end and a little below average schedule wise. But when I did Family of Lies, that was one of 3 films that the producer was shooting back to back. And they were all 12-day schedules.
Oh, okay.
So it's like, 12 days and then 2 weeks off while they geared up to prep and the other one, and then 12 more days and then 2 weeks off while they prep the third one, and then 12 days and they were done.
Oh, okay.
So that was pretty common. Now you start getting into bigger budget films. I'll use, for example, like Halloween Kills that just came out. That was a $5+ million movie. I don't think it was higher than that. It may have been. And that was probably a 35 day schedule is my guess. So when you start dealing with $5 million movies, the schedule could as much as double. But when you start getting into like the big budget Hollywood movies, like $100 million movies plus, your main schedule is like 2 to 3 months. So they're probably 5-day weeks. And so like a lot of lower budget films will have 6-day work weeks. Okay. But those will be just 5-day weeks. And they could go 2-3 months, like I said, but then you still might have months of pickup shots and second unit. And, so it's just maybe not principal photography, except sometimes if something's not, if something didn't work out right, you have to go back for reshoots. That's never happened to me. I've never had to do any pickup shots. When the schedule's done, I've had everything I need, and everyth's cut together. But sometimes on any film, even big giant Hollywood films, they can start editing it together and things might not be working out. Like, oh, we got to reshoot this scene. So it could be, as a matter of fact, that's what's happening right now with the movie Doctor Strange, the second Doctor Strange movie.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
It's like a $200 million, $300 million movie.
Right.
And they shot it and it's in the can, but they're doing major reshoots.
Wow.
And, so you just, and I don't know why they haven't said. I don't even want to venture a guess.
Speculate why. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
I can understand that. So question, what makes a story, being that you're a screenwriter, what makes a story worthy of being told to you?
It's kind of twofold. It has to have a good character, a main character. Not every character has to be interesting, but your protagonist has to be an interesting character. I'm more interested in vulnerable people. Mm-hmm. I kind of take with my own screenwriting. I can really only talk about my own screenwriting.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
With work for hire jobs, well, it's like somebody calls and if they pay me what I want to ask for, I'll do their job and I'll give them 100% and do the best I can do. Mm-hmm. with their work, with their material. And I've written in every single genre under those circumstances. But when it comes to my own work, I tend to lean towards thrillers, and I take a little bit of the Alfred Hitchcock approach. And Alfred Hitchcock is always like the ordinary person in the extraordinary circumstance.
Mm-hmm.
And that is much more engaging to me, because we're all ordinary people, and it's like we could be put into a situation that we don't have experience with, that we're in over our head. And that's more intriguing to me than a movie about, a special forces agent or a cop or something like that. Those are fun too. Don't get me wrong. I'm just not drawn to those as a writer. As a viewer, that's a different story. I can get caught up in those. But as a writer, I lean towards the other circumstance. And I like watching a James Bond movie as much as the next person, but I don't necessarily see myself writing.
Yeah, fully understand.
Yeah, and if you look at my films, you see exactly what I'm talking about. Ghost Image, you have the female video editor, and she actually has mental health issues and takes medication for it. And she is plunged into circumstances way beyond her control, and she's got to figure out what to do. And that's the same with Fatal Call. You have a character who is a paralegal and finds himself being chased by an unknown killer as well as pursued by the police. He's just way in over his head. And in Family of Lies, you have another lead female character who she's 25. And her parents are killed in an accident, or so you think. And then she is suddenly the head of the family with two younger siblings, only to discover there are nefarious forces out there that after parents and are after her and her siblings. And so she's in way over her head there too. And those are the kind of stories that are much more intriguing to me to write. And to direct.
Oh yeah, that's interesting.
Oh yeah, I see. Like you still working on some stuff, like a few upcoming projects, like the Night of the Heist and Eli Elder. Like, are you able to give like a brief idea of any of them, or when it comes out?
Well, I can. I do have to say that both of those are work for hire jobs.
Okay.
And so I had people contact me. And they presented me with kind of like a rough idea. Eli Elder's a Western, and it's a little bit of a faith-based Western. Like I said, I write in any genre, and they asked me if I would be interested in directing those, attaching me as a director. Okay. And so I said, sure. If it gets off the ground, I'll direct it. So I was hired to write those. So you have Eli Elder, like I said, as a faith-based Western. The Night of the Heist is about two twins, two twin brothers, and they pull off a heist and kind of what goes wrong with it. And the guys that hired me, that are actors, and they are twins. So they basically want a vehicle to highlight their acting talents. And so that's still in development. But the scripts are done for both of those films, but they're in development. Development is the stage where you raise money and, all that stuff. And you never know how long, especially with an indie film, how long it could be in development.
Oh, okay. I just bother you then to do that. So you might have already answered this. I'm not sure. So I ain't trying to repeat myself, but so do you think it's easier when you put together the picture, like directing a film for something somebody else wrote, or what you wrote? Like, do you see the vision? Does it matter?
Well, I can see the vision of both, but obviously, if I wrote it, the vision is much more clear, but it's right from the beginning, because I I usually start with a vision even before I write it. I'll be like, oh, wouldn't it be cool to do this? Wouldn't it be cool to do that? Oh, this would look so great. I can just see it in my head. And then I write it down. And so then we get to the shooting. I already have it formulated, but it could evolve, of course. Everything evolves, changes from the original concept. But since any idea that starts as a seed in my own brain will be more fully formed when I stand in front of the cameras than if something is given to me to direct.
Okay.
And to date, I've only directed the movies that I've written. And so I haven't actually sat in the director's chair with a script that's been given to me by someone else.
Oh, okay. I know it might sound like a dumb question. The reason I asked that because it just seemed like when you read something, like some people would have the talent where it's just like with you being a director, it's like you see the vision. Like soon as you just reading the words, you see the story. You know.
Yeah, I can, and I think everybody can. Doesn't mean they can make a movie, but everybody, like if you read a novel, you know, when you're reading a novel, you're conjuring up images in your head.
Yeah.
And even though a novel can describe things in so much more depth than a screenplay, because that's the function of a novel versus a screenplay, you can't describe everything in a screenplay. It's just you're limited to a certain page count. Unlike a novel can be as long. You read a Stephen King novel, it can be 1,000 pages long, and he goes into all this detail describing things.
Okay.
But the image that he conjures up, if the three of us read the same book, and no matter how much detail is written in the book, we would still come up with different images in our head.
Yep.
Right.
It just wouldn't be the same.
Yep. I agree. Yep.
That's true.
Okay. So, what would you like to see change in the entertainment film industry?
Oh, what would I like to see change? Oh, yeah. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I only think of things in my own
niche. So like
in my own niche. I'm just
so like as a screenwriter, I think. Do you see anything that's like messed up as like being a screenwriter or a director and trying to reach out to somebody in the industry and not being able to, I guess, like finish a project or something like that? Is it always a hustle to try to do like I'm pretty sure it is. But.
Yeah, it is. It is. There is no guarantee that anything you're working on will get made. When I write a script, there's no guarantee it's going to be produced, even when it's a work for hire. In fact, I have done probably a few hundreds work for hire screenplays, and less than 20 of them have been produced. So it's like, 10 to 15% have been produced. If you look at my IMDb, there's not that many on there. There's like maybe 8 or 10 films. So there's some I've written as a ghostwriter, been hired to come in and do work and not get credited for. And then some of those get produced and some don't. And so I would say 20 if you add up all the ghostwriting I've done and didn't get credited for, probably 20. But I've written a lot more than that. And nobody sets out to spend money on productions that don't get made. But it happens a lot in the indie world. It even happens at the studio level. They'll sink development money and things, and it just doesn't get off the ground.
Have you ever seen the Creep Show, the new Creep Show for the 2000s?
No, I haven't. I've seen the first two movies.
No, yeah, I'm a big fan.
The first one. Well, I love the first one. Not a fan so much of the second one because it felt thrown together.
Yeah.
But I've not watched the TV. What is that on? Is that like on Hulu?
Was it on Shudder? Shudder, AMC Shudder.
Okay. Okay, I have not subscribed to Shudder. There's too many services.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
Yeah, it's a lot out there though. Yeah, it's a lot. You can go with you.
You sure? Oh, okay. I was gonna say, what advice would you give your younger self about the craft that you know now?
Well, I would tell my younger self to take some film courses. I did not do that. Or writing courses. to kind of jumpstart my career a little earlier than I did. Everything I've done has just been learning on my own, trial and error. I learned how to screenwrite from reading books. I learned filmmaking from just doing, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Experience works, but I would advise to get on film crews, and even if you're just starting as a production assistant and just doing grunt work, and so you're around it and you learn. I know a lot of people who've done it that way, and they seem to have a more accelerated career. So I just kind of did things all on my own in my spare time, and I feel it took me longer than I would like to have had it taken. So that's what I would give my younger self: jump in the game earlier.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
What would you tell an aspiring screenwriter, film director, to look out for in the industry, as far as, I guess you can say, pitfalls or stuff that you would do now? I guess it's kind of a piggyback off of what Rello was saying, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I think I would tell anybody getting into the industry to, and I know a lot of people not gonna like to hear this, but to really have a backup plan, because it's very hard to break into the industry, and hard work certainly helps, but there is some luck involved. And I can honestly say a few times I found myself in the right place at the right time, which really helped me move forward. So to avoid certain pitfalls, I would say have a backup plan, one, and two, find out what you're really, really good at, and excel at that, or focus on that. And I know that flies a little bit in the face of you must follow your dreams, but there are some people, and I'm not saying don't follow your dreams, but learn what your strengths are. Like, for example, I tried to do crew work back in the early 90s on a really bad horror film that will remain nameless, that was shot in Tennessee, and just tried to work on the crew as a production coordinator, and I was second unit director of photography, and I did not excel at that, but so I stumbled, but what I discovered is I really excelled at writing. So that was the path I took, and as a natural, I'll shoot from that, because I have a very visual sensibility. I was able to springboard pretty easily into directing, which I had wanted to do from day one anyway. But there's a lot of people out there that want to direct, and they just can't see me master it. So, but they might be really good at production design. And so I would say to everybody wants to write and direct, and unfortunately, you need other crew positions. And so find out what you're really good at, and take that path. So that's my answer.
Cool.
Gotcha.
Right. And Bad Grandmothers, I had like the shot selection. I had a question about one scene though. When the stepmom, did I say grandmoms? I meant to say stepmother. Bad stepmother.
Because
I did see grandma too, but I meant to say stepmother.
Right. I did not direct Bad Stepmother. I was one of the writers.
Oh,
I didn't direct.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. But okay, you wrote it then.
Yeah, man.
Yes.
Correctly. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, huh?
Go ahead with it.
Oh no, I was gonna ask you about the scene when the fire came up. Like, it looked so perfect. I was like, did they plan that? Like, for that fire to come up and just hit that cross on the stove like that?
I wasn't on set when that was shot.
Oh, okay.
Remember I told you there were 3 movies that were shot back to back. That was one of them.
Okay.
The first one was Family of Lives, and I wrote and directed that. And then the next one was a Sci-Fi Channel movie called Nightmare Shark, and which I wasn't involved in. And then Bad Stepmother. All these were shot in Louisiana.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Just outside New Orleans. And so then when Bad Stepmother was done, I wasn't around. I wasn't around for the other 2 films, because I lived in LA at the time, and I went back to Los Angeles right after I was done.
Oh, okay. Man, I don't have any.
Yeah, that's it for my questions. We can get freestyle now.
Yeah, but
Okay,
what they don't know though is I learned under Jack though, cause like he taught me the TV production class or whatever. So that's where I first started playing with the camera and all that, switching from the actor side.
Yeah, that's what's up. That's what's up.
Rella, what did you take one class or did you take more than one class with me?
I think I had one. I think I had the TV production class.
Okay, I taught two of those.
Yeah.
And one was the production one, and where you had to do kind of a how-to video and a PSA, and then a production two, which was you made more of a narrative where you dealt with actors and stuff. Okay. So I can't remember which one. It's been too long. It's been too long.
It has.
How many years ago was that?
Oh, you know how you trying to put my age out there, man.
I'm just trying to get a chronological order of what's going on.
I want to say probably about 2012, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, 2011, 2012.
I taught at UMSL in class on campus from 2008 to part of 2013, the first semester of 2013. Then I taught online from 2013, the second semester, all the way to, I want to say 2016.
Okay.
Because I had moved at that point.
Right.
On stage.
Yeah, I remember that because I remember that that's when Fatal Call was getting worked on back then.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. We did Fatal Call, and then I left about a year after that.
Okay. Yeah, I missed that, man, because they would have the film festival up there, like the St. Louis Cinema Film Festival. Because I know one year they invited me up there because I called myself trying to direct a little short film, but I realized I wasn't no good because I couldn't keep the crew together. Like, that's a lot of work. So
it is a lot of work. The festival's going on right now.
Oh, okay.
And I think today might be I guess it goes this weekend. I think it started last Thursday, and it goes this weekend. And I for the last 2 years, I've been one of the judges for a selection of films. It's called the Essie Awards. They're films that have a St. Louis tie. So had you made a film those last 2 years, it would have been in that group. Right. I would have watched it and judged it.
Right. Oh, yeah. But no, we definitely appreciate you joining us and everything. Like I said, it was an honor just to be able to interview you because like I wouldn't have saw myself doing this 10 years ago. So,
well, this is great. I really had a lot of fun.
Yeah, you too.
So, do you have anything like in the future that you're working on, Jack, that you want to let us know or let the viewers know what's going on or where they can find it at?
Well, I do have a few. Films that I might be directing, but unfortunately, because the money hasn't been raised and I've signed NDAs on them, I can't because there's a lot of filmmakers. It's not uncommon that until they actually know what's going to happen, they keep it quiet. They don't want to jinx it, and they don't want to put the word out for something that suddenly doesn't happen because it makes the producers look bad. So I'm besides those films that my name is on the IMDb that I'm attached as director, there's some other films that I'm also attached to as director, and so we'll just see what happens. But unfortunately, I'm not working on anything right now as a director, so I have nothing that I can tell the audience that like to look out for at this time.
All right. Okay. Sounds good. Do you have a Instagram or anything or Twitter or anything you want to let them know or?
No, I mean, I have a Facebook page and I actually do have Instagram and Twitter, but I'm one of those guys that have those pages, but I never visit them. So I couldn't even.
Okay. Yeah, no problem.
I'm still like old school, so I'm still like a Facebook guy.
Right.
Don't. Hey, I was that before this. I didn't really have that presence until we did the Architects. So
right. Well, it seemed like the Facebook works better for me than the other one for some reason.
Oh, Facebook does? Yeah.
Yeah, I have Instagram and, my wife will sometimes tell me to post something, but, she's more active on Instagram.
Okay.
So I need to get more up to speed on that, I realize.
No, it's all good. No problem. But cool then. Well, I guess we'll talk with you later then, and we appreciate you joining us, and thank you all for joining us today for the Architects. And I'm Rello.
And this is Jay.
We'll talk to you later.
All right.